Well, it's a nice round, 10 minutes after 8 o'clock. And it is time for Island Tea. I got my man, Jay.
You almost say Jay-Z?
I almost said Jay-Z.
Oh, my God.
You know, because when I said that, my man, right?
Yes.
I always have Jay-Z in mind, right? So, that's funny.
There's no problem.
That New York thing. My man.
Yes, no problem.
So I got my man AZ in AZ, Jay-Z, see? Get it? Yeah. So
just a slip of the tongue. I want to say good morning to everyone everyone listening to the sound of my voice this morning. A pleasant morning to you. We do hope that you're having a wonderful day here within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. I know that, we are progressing. We are doing what we can despite the circumstances. I want to wish everyone well and to say to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis, just keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. I have seen in the news that, based on Loop News, an article that I was reading, it says here that the police to crack down on public smoking in St. Kitts and Nevis, and this was 19 hours ago. It says the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force announced that it will be stepping up enforcement of public smoking restrictions across the Federation. So, everyone, important notice, it says here that this move comes in response to the recently enacted Smoking Designated Areas Act 2023, which aims to protect public health by limiting smoking in shared spaces. It says under the new law, smoking is prohibited in all public areas except for especially designated zones. It says the definition of smoking has been expanded to include not only traditional tobacco products, but also the use of any heated device for inhaling cannabis or cannabis resin. It says encompassing electronic smoking devices as well. So it also says here that the St. Kitts Nevis Police Force warned that individuals caught violating the new regulations will face steep penalties. Offenders can expect a $500 fine for smoking in unauthorized areas. Those unable to pay may be required to complete up to 20 hours of community service or face a 5-day jail term. It says here business owners are not exempt from the new regulations. Establishments wishing to provide smoking areas for their patrons must obtain proper licensing from the chief medical officer and adhere to strict signage requirements. Failure to comply could result in a $1,000 fine for business operators. The Act casts a wide net in its definition of public places, encompassing a variety of locations, including bars, restaurants, clubs, hotels, tourist establishments, schools, and other educational institutions. It says here that the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force is calling on all residents and visitors to cooperate with the new measures. So based on this article, it is saying that, they will be stepping up the enforcement of, as it relates to the areas. There are certain designated areas that are permitted. You're permitted to smoke there, and so they're saying that under the new law, smoking is prohibited in all public spaces, public areas. So public areas, it's prohibited in public areas except for specially designated zones. So you have to qualify as a specially designated zone in order for you to be able to smoke the cannabis and tobacco products and the like.
So you said this is St. Kitts?
Yeah, this is St. Kitts.
Where in Loop?
It was published 19 hours ago.
Really?
It's Loop Caribbean, yes. And so the law that was passed, the Smoking Designated Areas Act 2023, they're putting it into force now. They're enforcing it. They're stepping up on the enforcement based on this article.
Okay.
And so smoking prohibited in public spaces, save and except those areas that are designated as zones that persons can smoke. And it says here that it aims to protect public health by limiting smoking in shared spaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think maybe it's an extension of some of the things that they've rolled out? Like the first thing they rolled out was an enforcement of the that minor curfew law, where if you're 10, no, not if you're a minor, you can't be out 10 o'clock. You shouldn't be out. Well, unless you're accompanied by a parent.
Yeah. So he says the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force to enforce law on child loitering after 10 p.m. So, based on that, what you're saying, it says here, and this is an article by Win FM. It says, following the recent string of murders in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force has announced plans to enforce law prohibiting children under the age of 16 from loitering on streets after 10 p.m. So it says here, Section 15 of the Criminal Law Amendment Act of St. Christopher and Nevis stipulates that minors found wandering or loitering on the streets after 10 p.m. without a legitimate reason will be subject to police intervention. It says here, officers are authorized to stop such minors and, if necessary, escort them to the nearest police station, where they will remain until their parent or legal guardian is notified and takes custody. It says that the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force states that the law is intended to reduce the risks associated with unsupervised minors during late hours. The law requires that the parent or guardians be notified immediately when their child is detained. It says here, parents and guardians may face penalties if they fail to supervise their children effectively. Law allows for a fine up to $500, but mandates a warning to be issued before any charges be brought. The law defines street broadly to include public thoroughfares such as roads, lanes, footways, squares, and adjoining grounds. And it says here, as the nation continues to grapple with the recent murders of the 9-year-old Smitten of Craddock Road, Nevis, 30-year-old Devon Paris of Stony Grove, Nevis, aspiring politician 42-year-old Niles Jones, and 36-year-old Maurice O'Loughlin, local recording artists, law enforcement continues to try, and the police, the community as much as possible to prevent further instances of crime. It says here that the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force is requesting the cooperation of parents, guardians, and the community to ensure compliance of the law. So they are enforcing this law that is already on the books, the criminal law, and as it relates to loitering, the loitering of minors after 10 p.m. What are your thoughts on that, Jamster?
Oh, absolutely. And I like the part about holding parents. Actually, I think I mentioned it to Kortensia yesterday and Monday after you left. But I didn't realize that was part of it. So that's good. That I think parents should be held liable, and maybe we'll see the kids shaping up, and maybe it will take a little while, but maybe we might see a drop off in some of the problematic incidents and violence that we see sometimes. So yeah.
Also too, this for me.
Another thing. I think this is something that should have been enforced. It was on the books. They should have never stopped enforcing that.
Yeah.
Because it always bugs me, Easy. I was telling Kortensia yesterday. I think I told you on Monday before you left. It bugs me that carnival or at a fete, I'm playing somewhere and I'm seeing people who are clearly minors out at 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes drunk, scantily dressed, dressed in a sexualized manner. Some of them like 12, 13, dressed in skimpy clothing, doing questionable things. And I'm like, what, don't these people have parents? You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think this would, in the long run, if affected, done effectively, I think in the long run it would stem those persons who are minors now, they're at-risk youth, persons who have not committed crime yet or have any convictions yet, but may be likely to do so. So I guess this would stem future occurrences, or the possibility would reduce, that's the word I want to say, could reduce future occurrences in terms of persons being on the age and being associated, because when you're a teenager, you might be loitering after 10, doing all sorts of things, planning all sorts of things. So it prevents, in my mind, future persons, the likelihood of persons being a part of that system.
And let's hope we have the requisite community policing, maybe whether it's walkthroughs or drive-throughs, where the police, the security officers are actually checking the communities and making sure that the kids are off the street. Yeah.
And why I said future too, because I don't have the evidence on who has committed these murders so
absolutely.
far. But I believe it more likely or not to be persons who aren't minors. You understand? So I see something like this really going to prevention of persons
absolutely
being comfortable
or
and having the likelihood of farming,
maybe being around older gang members.
Yes, that's exactly
and being let's say, what's the word, recruited and and groomed and that kind of stuff.
Yes, provided that may occur earlier in the day, but if they are in school and the like, then you have less time.
Absolutely. So you
to interact.
You minimizing the window for that this kind of thing to take root. Yeah.
And I mean, parents, for persons on the age, I mean, after 10 o'clock and you're outside the house, that's very reckless, I think, for parents to have their children outside the house after 10.
And I don't
especially not being able to account for them. It's one thing if they're by somebody, a close friend or something, that you know what they're doing, but not knowing at all after 10.
Yeah.
I
mean, no, I don't think anyone is saying, for example, let's say you live in a neighborhood. Let's say I live here, and maybe I came to visit you. No, well, yeah, I live here, and I came to visit you, and you live by, say, across the street by Tota, right? Nobody's saying that you can stay there till 10 and then walk across to go home. Because to me that's reasonable, right?
Well, it says in without reasonable cause. So once you have reasonable cause,
exactly.
Then
Although it might be best if you left.
But it says legitimate cause.
Your friend's home, say 3 minutes before 10 or something. I sent you an article.
Yes.
We were discussing this yesterday as well.
What's that?
This is from the Jamaica Gleaner. Math expert Dr. Samuel McDaniel has asserted that a complete overhaul of primary education is necessary to address the consistently mediocre performance of students in the subject area at the CSEC level. In fact, the lecturer in the Department of Math at the University of the West Indies, Monash, posits that only 3 subjects should be taught in primary schools: reading, writing, and arithmetic. Really? I wouldn't go that far, but anyway. So this is a conversation we could definitely... Let me see what some of these comments say. Someone says, it is true that the primary education needs to be revisited. Too much work, hence a lot of cramming and microwave teaching have to be done to finish the curriculum. If you think I'm joking, just look at the grade 5 social studies. May those in charge pay attention to this. Someone else says, I concur with you. Cite every day. Literacy, numeracy, civics, and writing. That's all needed. Currently, my students do math, language, science, and writing. We need to go back to common entrance because what? PEP is only teaching children to SWAT. To SWAT? I don't know what that means. PEP is also...
SWAT means... It's like quick learning. You digest the information, but it's only for a short time. So you know it for a short time. So you put everything in your mind one time. You cram. It's like cramming.
Cramming.
Yes.
Okay. Is that a Jamaican term, though?
It could be, you know.
Oh, okay.
It could be because I'm familiar with the term attending school in university in I think Jamaica could
Yeah.
be it probably is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone says, preach. I watch the China Method and it's so informative. I support you, sir. I wish this information was out earlier. I know that more is in you to say. So have a press conference. But this is I'm gonna have to read this the article in depth.
You're reading the comments from online on
Facebook, yeah.
Jamaica Gleaner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's from the Facebook page, but I'm gonna have to read the article. I'm gonna get
Mm-hmm.
time so we could, because we were talking about
Yes.
that over the last 2 days about the fact that there needs to be an improvement in reading and math, and so pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
These
And
guys, and I noticed someone, the commenter mentioned civics. I actually think that makes sense. So reading, writing, arithmetic, and civics. I don't know if I necessarily want to be so austere with primary school education, but I kind of see where he's coming from. I mean, it doesn't hurt to have art. I remember when I was.
But you see,
things like art and water painting, and
the thing about it, that's one person's opinion on what should happen, and then there's other school of thought,
schools of thought
that suggests that even that you suppose that you ought to introduce a foreign language at primary school level, so you could get the students more accustomed to. Because we realize we live in a very small space.
Their brains are more malleable at that time too.
So there's so many different opinions on the matter. Because as you said here, that's another thing. Persons feel that you're able to take in as much information and best learning practices when you're small.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
actually, sometimes I wish we were given like French and Spanish. Well, I prefer French, but it's funny, right? Spanish is easier. But I prefer French. I used to do slightly better in.
Yes.
So like if I got 80 in Spanish,
yes,
I might get 75 in French. But I preferred French.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because French isn't as what's the word? It's not as okay. Spanish is a very facile language. The word, you pronounce the word the way it's spelled, whereas with French is a little more ticklish, but I still prefer
have the
French.
accents and everything like that.
Yeah, Spanish sounds like they're fighting, I always said that. I mean, like, a couple could be talking about, oh, I love you so much, I'm jumping over the moon, and they sound like they're having a fight.
Yeah,
just do the language sounds, you know?
It could be a bit, it could sound a bit aggressive. Yeah. Whereas French, you have it seems more, as you said, as persons say, the language of love, French. And so I mean, looking at that, would you say that during your primary school time that you felt overwhelmed with the information that you received?
No. Primary school? Not at all.
I don't think so either from me. But I do think that reading is very important, and not just reading, being able to call words, but reading and understanding. I think reading comprehension is important, because there might be persons who can call a word, but being able to read a paragraph, and from reading that paragraph, understanding what that paragraph is saying. I think that is important, because those skills take you throughout life. Especially if you're going to do undergrad and the like, where most of the learning is on you to take in the information, to be able to understand the information, comprehend what is being said, and being able to communicate that. So I think not only reading, but when we say reading, it's not just calling words, not just saying the boy went down the road, but understanding that you said exactly where the boy went. You understand?
I think the problem isn't necessarily, I feel like the problem isn't necessarily reducing it to those super basic subjects. It's just a matter how you teach those components. Like, Like I feel like math. I was telling someone.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the math syllabus should be more. It should be more relatable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing wrong with doing applied math in primary school. There must be a way to teach applied math, meaning how the math applies to your everyday life, even as a say 8-year-old or whatever, 10-year-old. There must be a way to teach it where the kids grasp the concept because it becomes relatable in the way it's taught, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the same thing could be applied to the other things, the reading and the writing. I was saying yesterday when you weren't here that
Mm-hmm.
I feel like one of the things that should be done
Yes.
for like maybe literature. I was saying perhaps you should have a reading class where you can have famous, well-known, popular people come in and do readings on popular books. You know,
Yes.
I feel like that would be a way to encourage reading because people will be like, I mean, I remember when our kids were little, we used to read to them, and I always just, even now, I tell my wife, I said, I always feel, I always have this theory that
Yes.
as the kids get older and they
Mhm.
become more self-aware and they realize, wait, all of that stuff, all those pictures in my head are coming from that. I open this book and all I'm seeing are these words. Is that where all those pictures are coming from? Is Daddy making this stuff up? But no.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like that is one way to inculcate reading. And of course, eventually you get the kids to read. Listen, there are many ways. And Miss Henry was saying yesterday
Yes.
that the reading should be done on tablets and so on. Okay, I consider that maybe there should be a mix of tablets,
Mhm.
but I feel like it should be books. Because you don't need electricity. You don't need electricity to read. If electricity goes on a Sunday afternoon, you could pick up a book and read.
Yeah.
You don't need no excuse of, there's no electricity. So I feel like it should be inculcated from the beginning that
Mm-hmm.
reading is a very elemental thing. You just need a book. You don't have to have a tablet. You don't have to have a phone. You don't have to have a computer.
But then,
You know?
but look at it. The students, the young persons,
Mhm.
the children, minors, they have access to cell phones. They have tablets. A lot of them have their iPads. A lot of them have these electronic devices. You could actually download articles. You could download books on these devices and have them read from it. The only thing is that, to make sure that the light, that the constant reading and the glare from the computer, you want
Mhm.
them to have the protective eyewear to prevent any
Yeah.
damage to their eyes for extensive reading on
I
these
don't. Yeah.
these devices.
Yeah.
But they do have access to this, and I mean, when you see them when you see them texting and all of these things, I think that in a way is communicating via word. The only thing is that most of the times when we text, we don't text in a something that is grammatically correct. So oftentimes when you texting, the way you text might be the same way you communicate
Yes,
verbally, and that might be the issue because they're practicing all sorts of shorthand. They're not using the language
I'm glad you brought up that.
correctly, and so that could cause persons not to be able or comfortable when it comes to speaking the English language and using it correctly.
Facts.
But yeah, I think they have at their disposal a number of resources. It's just to ensure in having so much information before them, they do have competing options. So they could decide to play a game on the tablet because the tablet has games on it as opposed to reading. So
All I'm saying,
there's so many competing interests.
there should be a mix of mixed media, traditional and
Yeah,
because when I was talking about the reading thing yesterday, Miss Henry was saying, "Oh no, but it should be tablets." I said, "But why not a mix?" My thing was books, but I said, I'll concede, but let's have a mix. Have a compromise. Some days you read from books, other days, I don't know. We have a call.
Yes.
Caller, go ahead.
Hi, good morning, Jamster. Good morning,
Hey, what's up?
Azard.
Hey, good morning,
what's up?
Africa. How are you? How are you? Good morning.
I'm giving thanks for life and yourself. I'm enjoying the showers. I'm at the airport.
Yeah, thank you. I'm having a wonderful time so far.
Yeah, something caught my attention there as you guys talk about
Yes.
higher education and how broad-based we should go in terms of our curricula. And one thing piqued my interest is about the second language.
Mm-hmm.
What Jamster, which language would you think would be more palatable at this time, given the economic, the space that one would want to go and seek employment, be it as a translator in a foreign language, in comparison to the French language or the Mandarin language. I'm
not a fan of promoting Chinese hegemony. Sorry. I feel that they should learn an African language first, an African language, and one of those.
Another language, right? Because you should not be a fan of promoting colonial hegemony either, in terms of the French language.
Well, that's why I said an African language, and
right. But I'm saying
let the Chinese learn English.
We're
not learning no Chinese
on the African continent, which I would think that the Kiswahili should be a preferred language of choice.
I agree.
As a general language, as a language that the African continent has so many languages, and yet they have not come up with a particular language. From the AU perspective, the African Union perspective, to say, well, let us teach this. But in South Africa and in other nations, they are trying to teach Kiswahili in school, which is good. So I am guilty of because I exposed my daughter to what we call Alliance Française long time ago.
Yes.
As French as a second language. So here with that, we are fluent in English because it was beaten into us. It's a language that we had to learn it, forget our names and so forth. But there is a language in all of us that is dormant. And would the exposure to that language, the what we call the phonics of that a particular language which is dormant in us. Yes. There are things that cover of heaps of other things that cover over it, but within our DNA there's a language that our ancestry, forebearers, 3, 4, 5 generations ago once spoke.
I agree.
But Africa, you are making the suggestion
quick
that
comment here on
before
his
you
point.
go there,
But most African countries do speak French. Somebody said.
Yeah, but Africa is making the suggestion.
Because of colonialism.
We
agree with that.
You're making the suggestion.
Colonial space.
You're making the suggestion there for Africa. Before you go on, you're making the suggestion that because our ancestors are from, many of our ancestors are from Africa, that you're saying that any African language would be easier for us to learn because of our ancestors?
We don't know. We don't know unless we are exposed to it, and the way how palatable it is. Unless we are expose our youths, our children and so to a particular African language, we would not know, because are there a survey? Was there a survey done to really come up with a conclusive answer to that question?
So I just wanted to know. Okay,
I am convinced
that
if 5 generations of my ancestry spoke a language, which prior to that 5th generation, there were 10, 15, 20 generations before spoke that particular language, and it was passed on the way the Latinos does it in with their children here. They're born in an English country, right? But yet they do not negate and put aside their mother tongue or their father tongue. Okay? So it's like an abrupt cease and desist of this language, but yet it is dormant in us. The guys who are into genealogy and so, they can identify other spheres of culture and so, where it is compatible to us and to other people, other nations, other ethnic groups, other so-called races. groups of people, so to speak. But how would we know if we doesn't expose our children and the youth in school to that particular language? It might become useful in the future because, yes, we want to travel to China and learn the Mandarin just to get along for the time that we're there, right? But yet, in the future, we will want to travel to the African continent also. You know? So I just put in that out there as a discussion. I had a brief sabbatical, and I listen to the program on a daily basis, on and off, but I have just decided to weigh in on the topic at hand. Thanks for speaking.
Okay.
Thanks for letting me speak.
Yeah. Now, that was a good way. Here's a comment that was kind of related. Someone said, "Well, being devil's advocate, would it make more sense to teach a language that makes our people competitive?" And my answer was, I replied, I said, I agree. Get better at English. And I kind of laughed. I was being semi-facetious.
That was my, when Africa was talking about that, so that was my mind as well, because you want to teach a language whereby it could be competitive as well, looking at how practical it is in terms of ensuring that you are competitive in the job market. Yeah,
and to Africa's point, I mean, many of us don't even, and to your point earlier, because of people not knowing time and place. And I always, when I text, I always use, I would say 90% proper English, because I think it's a good way.
It's practice as well.
Yeah, well, not that I necessarily, but I feel like it's, especially if I'm talking, say if I'm talking with my kids or someone. And you know what I notice? If I'm having a chat with someone, if they started the chat and they were speaking thing, and then when I respond, they code switch. And they start to, you know what I mean? I'm not saying I don't use the contractions and so on, the abbreviations and so, but I feel it's important to use it's because I used to teach English, I guess. That kind of, you know, it's a kind of thinking where I feel like using punctuation and all that is very important. And it's that again, punctuation is another thing a lot of people
look at this, but we all know that English is the most popular language spoken. English is number one. But look at this. In English, we have how this site has done it. You could say 1.4 billion speakers approximately. Yeah. So, but the first language, this is what is significant. English as a first language, you have about, based on this website, and this is a website, Berlitz, and it says here that total speaking is 1.4 billion. Let me say 1.4 billion plus. But of that 1.4 billion, those persons who speak English as a first language is 380 million. So 1.something billion English is their second language. So it shows that we who have English as our first language here are more persons out there who learn English as a second language than we who have it as a first language.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah. It's because of who we were colonized by. Let's not forget that. The ugly truth.
Well, we do have English,
the
and this is what we
truth,
have.
But yeah. No. Yeah, that's fine. And this is why I'm not a fan of the Mandarin thing, because
Mandarin is second most spoken language.
Well, simply because just numerically the country is ridiculous.
And their
numbers,
country,
right? Population,
that's the outlier there.
Yeah, exactly. We have a call. Caller, go right ahead. 844.
Yeah.
Hey.
Mr.
Hey. Lord, what did
English
I do? What did I do now? Okay, go ahead.
It's a foreign language to us. We mastering English is evidence of full conquest. It is not your language. I'm going to tell you a story quickly. I had a conversation with an Inca Indian. We spoke for about 2 hours in English. At the end of the conversation, he asked me, He said, Rasta, what is your language? I said, English. He said, no. I understood what he meant. My feeble attempt to hold some respect, I said to him, my language is a mixture of English and the African language. He said to me, his response was, so Rasta, you're a British colony. I said, yes. He said, the same thing happened to your people, happened to many of my people. In the United Nations, I'm moving out of that. When Putin speaks in Russia, it is not because he does not have any command of the English language. He is speaking to his people. We, African people, one of the many abuses to us was the loss of our language, our religions, and our culture. We became something else. We had to adapt. We were forced to adapt. The loss of the language speaks volume. And I, for one, will not stop saying that the curriculum of exclusion from which we are taught must one day and will one day, this is reparation, be changed, and it will include a language that identifies with the people. You, going back to the story, the Indian man said to me, Rasta, you don't look like no Englishman to me. People and language identifies. It is why it is important that we change the curriculum and include an African language. For one, Kiswahili is one of the most dominant African languages spoken in almost every African country. If we are to regain our identity as a people, one of the things we must command is a language that identifies with the reflection in the mirror. And so you will know who you are and say, yes, I am. Have a good day.
Okay, great. That's a good point, actually.
Thank you for your contribution.
Yeah. I definitely agree. That's a good point. I've always said that I feel like, and that's actually the language. I mean, if you were gonna take an African language that is a sort of let's say, okay, the way English is globally, it would be Kiswahili.
But that's not even listed in most. I'm not even.
Yeah, but I feel like I just feel like just from
I'm looking at the
from a self-discovery standpoint, I feel like, and I don't think it's an entirely impractical proposition actually to say we should learn an African language, and because Africa is the future. Africa has 54 countries. I mean, whether some people like it or not, Africa is the future, and there's nothing wrong with.
But then, to make it practical, it would mean that we'll have to start to trade and start to make sure that not just learning the language, but learning the language so we could engage in some sort of communication towards ensuring that there is some economic benefit.
Of course. Yeah.
At the end of the day,
that's part of it.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
I mean, if we start to trade with them, and then we reach a point where governments can say, why don't we start a pilot?
Interaction. There must be. Is it that we're going to, as you said, trade? Is it that we're going to go to school? There is some interaction to
meaning
what you know into practice.
Well, I mean, let's say we started buying. We can start trading. I mean, we have Barbados, Trinidad, Dominica, Jamaica. They have things that we can sell to We have things that we can sell to Africa. They have things that we can buy raw materials from them. We can buy chocolate from them. Trinidad can buy chocolate from. So just using as an example.
When I think about these,
Trinidad makes chocolate now. The child's chocolate.
Because when I think about learning a second language, I think about how does that make you more marketable? How does that make you more competitive? So but I did Spanish and French in high school. But if I was to really seriously think about becoming fluent in a second language, my first consideration would, how does this make me more marketable? How can I use this in terms of becoming more marketable at the end of the day? Other than that, then you have a language that you don't really practice, that doesn't make you marketable. It's for me, maybe just maybe a hobby.
I don't think you can look at everything through the lens of.
That's what I'm saying. Other than that, it's just for
practicality,
Yeah, that's what I say. Other than that, it's just for knowledge, or just for as you would say, just to be conscious.
Yeah, I mean, it's like filling in a part of ourselves. Mm-hmm. Africa made a good point about it being in us genetically.
I might differ. I don't think a language. Maybe if there's some study that show, I think that we are taught from a young age. We are not born fluent in English. We are not born fluent in any language.
Yeah.
We are taught the language.
Yeah.
You understand?
But he makes a point.
No baby comes out. If you have a baby and the baby is born and no one speaks to that child, chances are that child will never learn to talk properly. So I believe that language is taught. And so I don't believe because your ancestors come from a particular region that it's innate that you know the language, or else without being taught, you and I feel without being taught,
I just feel it's
you and I would still have been able to understand and communicate because it would have been innate. You understand?
I just feel
language is taught.
I see what you're saying, but I just feel like in the case of our Africanness, I just feel like this is one.
You're thinking that is a closure in terms of
yes, closure.
It's
that's
closure.
a nice.
So
it's
that's
a
what
kind
you're
of
looking at.
Yes, I feel like we should learn a mother tongue.
As a sense of closure,
and the one that would make us understandable to most Africans would be the logical one, because it's 54 countries, and at some point we're gonna have to come to terms with the fact that our motherland is going to be the power of the future. What are you leaving?
Yeah, I told you I have to.
Lord.
Yeah, no, you have like an hour to go. I also want to say to persons out there,
and Kortensia's off today.
Yeah, she is. Yeah. That this is my final week on Island Tea. My final time on Island Tea will be Friday. That's the last day in August. But it's not goodbye to Win FM. I have been discussing plans with the board in terms of a different path, and so I will make the necessary announcements in relation to what that path would be. And so I want to say thank you to so many persons during the time I've been here. It's been a year plus, and it has been an amazing experience being a part of the program, being a part of the show. I've interacted with so many persons, so many callers. Sometimes we don't share the same point of view, but I still appreciate it.
Here's what you're going to do now. Yes. You're going to take your last call before you leave.
Okay, go ahead.
Call, go ahead.
No. Good morning, guys. Good morning.
Good morning.
Azard, you just break my heart.
I know.
Oh, my Lord, when I tell you, my heart just dropped. You just made me feel so sad when you say that. You're right. What?
Yes.
Yeah, I just saw that.
No, I was calling about the language.
Yes.
I agree with you, Azard. The language have to be taught.
Yes.
Because, for example, my husband's father is from Santo Domingo. He speaks Spanish, but he never taught his kids to speak Spanish.
Exactly. So it's not that you just have it in you if it's not taught.
Exactly. It's not that, because I think out of all of his kids, only one only one son, I think, can speak the Spanish, and he was not taught by the father. He learned it off his own.
Yes. Yes,
So
yes.
you see, it's a thought thing. And then Jamster talking about we must learn the mother tongue. My mother tongue is English. I know nothing about Africa, Jamster.
Clear.
My mother tongue is English.
There are some persons, who but I mean, this might cause some backlash, but when I think about my roots and everything, I know my ancestors came from Africa, but I know that, I was born, I'm Kitishan,
Exactly.
I know Saint Kitts and Nevis.
that's
Not that
where
I don't
sit.
appreciate.
Saint Kitts, and that's where I
Not that because people get it confused and they want to come after you. Not that I don't appreciate the heritage and all that my ancestors had in Africa, but I know Saint Kitts and Nevis. I grew up in Saint Kitts and
I
Nevis.
understand what you're saying. The fact is, I cannot relate to them because I the farthest I know my family tree is my great grandmother. I don't know my great grandmother, mother. I don't know crap about them. I only know my great grandmother. That's the farthest I know of my family tree. And for Africa, I cannot relate. And I don't even try to relate. I'm gonna be honest. But I'm a Kititian.
Yeah, so many.
And when it comes to language, right?
Yeah.
When I was living in New York, we had a tenant, right? In one of my father's apartments. She's Jamaican.
Yes.
Her child born in America.
Mm-hmm.
And Azard, if you hear that child speak,
Yeah.
you would think that child born in the heart of Jamaica. You think the little girls don't speak bike. No bother with it, You would think that child was born in the heart of Jamaica.
Yes.
But it's because how the parents speak, that's what the child pick up as the child grows. So
Exactly.
Language is taught.
Yes, I agree.
Something you gotta be learned, be taught.
Well, clear, there are going to be persons. I could imagine the amount of conversation that is going to be had after you made those those views.
Yeah, the Africans, the conscious people gonna come from me, but I don't care. I can't relate. I'm a Kititian, and I'm contented with that.
Yeah, and I don't think that you are denying your roots. You're not denying your history. You're saying what you know and what you could relate to at this point in time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, you broke my heart. I need your Facebook. Please look me up on Facebook.
No
and
problem,
send me a
Cleo.
friend request.
I will.
All
And
right.
it's not a goodbye because I have something planned. So something.
All right.
Yes.
Then my heart will feel a little better.
Yes. Okay then.
Have a good day, guys.
No problem. All the best. All the
Don't forget
best.
to hit me up on Facebook.
I will,
Send me a
Cleo.
friend request.
I will.
All
I
right.
will. Awesome. So I'm
Goodbye.
gonna I'm gonna go now because I have to deal with some stuff.
Yeah, okay. So easy. See you're gonna be here tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll see you tomorrow.
No problem.
Yeah. Okay. We're gonna take a break. We're gonna have a farmer here, a livestock farmer, who's gonna be joining us for farm report. So we're gonna have a little change of pace as we talk about farm animals, animals grown for food and all that.
From the South, 98.9 FM.
Summer is heating up with CIBC Caribbean. Enjoy a sizzling hot cart summer when you spend with your CIBC Caribbean Visa credit card. Lucky winners will receive prizes including hotel day passes, staycations, dinners, spa days, cruises, and much, much more. Each time you spend $200 or more, you'll be entered for your chance to win. Apply today for your CIBC Caribbean Visa credit card. Terms and conditions apply. Visit www.cibcfcib.com/hotcardsummerskn. Promotion ends August 31st, 2024.
Hey there, summer lovers. Ready to make your summer unforgettable? Get down to Horsford's Building in Neva Center, something summer special, where the heat is on with a sizzling 25% off select items. Fire up the fun with top-notch barbecue grills, perfect for those backyard cookouts. Dive into savings on swimming goggles, coolers, and inflatable and mini pools. Keep your drinks icy and your days splashy. Relax in style with our comfy summer chairs or float away on our luxurious floating waterbeds. And don't miss out on our premium gas grills for the ultimate grilling experience. All this and so much more. Head to Horsford's Building in Neva Center, Something Summer Specials today, and catch these hot deals before they're gone. Something Summer Specials, your one-stop shop for summer fun. Terms and conditions apply. See store for details.
Maybe it's the way the brilliant gold liquid reflects our sunshine, or how the bright blue of its label mirrors the clear Caribbean skies overhead. Maybe it's the fresh, crisp taste of this beastly cold beer on a scorching hot day. Maybe it's even the way it brings us all together. But one thing is for sure, Carib is very much a part of who we are wherever we're from in the Caribbean. Carib. It's the way we play. Drink responsibly.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Have you heard the exciting news from Makana Ferry Service? Here goes! We've reinstated subsidized rates for 2024. So now you can travel to Sabre, Statia with a reduced return rate, and we introduce special same-day rates. Wait! There's more! You've asked for day trip to St. Martin? Well, now it's a reality! Yes, on the weekends. Also, with the introductory special same-day rates, giving you savings and affordable transportation options, where you save every time. And hear this, our new schedule now includes Anguilla. Go to www.makanaferryservice.com or call our local agents. Ship it for less at 869-466-1151, extension 2 or 662-3961. You can email makana@shipitforless.com. So now you know. Enjoy the sun, sand, and unforgettable celebrations this summer with Makana Ferry Service and the gift of connection.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's back time for Budger's Hardware Hustle. That's right, buy any 2 gallons of Budger paint from participating hardware store for a chance to win a shopping spree in a hardware store valued at $1,000. Visit BudgerPaintsCaribbean.com on how you can enter. Promotion ends August 31st. See Budger Caribbean on Facebook and Instagram for details. Yes! Budger for lasting beauty and protection.
Well, it's time for Farm Report. It's 4 minutes after 9 o'clock, and we've got Humble. He's a livestock farmer, and he is going to give us a little change of pace today for Farm Report. Good morning, Humble. What's up?
Yes, a pleasant morning to everyone, listeners, viewers. Name is Garrett Lewis, a.k.a. everybody call me Humble. I'm a livestock farmer, farming in Godwin Estate. The business name is Humble's Green Pastures, and I'm here to give you a little insight and info and raising of the cows or whatever question may arise.
So you're part of the consortium?
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily, but you're an associate, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So tell us about the livestock farming, and so you raise cows as well.
Yeah, cows and goats.
And this is a question I've always wondered. Why is it Kittians don't seem to eat as much beef as they do pork and chicken? And why? I mean, clearly you're raising cows, so where does the beef go?
Well, to be quite honest, from looking at the info, it might be quite a bit stigmatized by the red meat and dangers of red meat, which you would probably have.
Really?
Yeah. Most people say, well, red meat is bad for you.
So how come they would take that on board, but they don't take other things on board, like maybe you should exercise and maybe so many people shouldn't be overweight? That seems like an odd. They seem oddly selective with that, because nobody's saying you should eat beef every day, you know. But
well, that's just it. I was just about to say everything is moderation.
You're the second person that said that.
Yeah, so I was thinking it's just moderation. If you do everything in moderation, it should be all right. However, you don't do poison in moderation, because we know poison would kill you, so you stay away from the toxic stuff. Yeah. But the question posing to beef, like I said, I think it just stigmatized a little bit, and to some degree, and talking about red meat, and red meat is bad for you, but it could still be good for you
but
in certain terms.
Isn't mutton red meat? I mean, I find it very odd.
Well, precisely. So you see where we're getting at. So everything is modernized and how you do it.
Because we eat goat water and we eat lamb, and so.
Yeah, exactly. Still red meat.
And that's red meat.
Yes. But the beef will be more healthy in terms, especially where it's grown, because, you know, in St. Kitts, like, it's locally, it's grass-fed, so there's not a lot of chemicals. We butcher it fresh, you have it fresh. There's no freezer bone and no long storage of freezers over for months and years where you can't even tell. So it's a bit more healthy on the healthy side in here.
So how many animals do you have? On your farm?
Under my charge, I'll come to that in a bit.
Oh, okay.
I think I wanted to also mention that St. Kitts produce a lot of beef, but majority of the beef would go into beef patty, because, you know, everybody love a beef burger, but it's not everybody love a steak. You'll find that the steak would probably come from more Eurocentric ethnic people. Like the students may have a knack for that, and, you know, we here never really into so much steak, although the percentage might be a bit low, but not too high. So I just wanted to emphasize that. But however, we do consume a lot of beef, but most of it we go to the burger patties.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So red meat is bad for you, but we still eat hamburgers. I don't understand.
So you see the logic.
Yeah, it makes no sense, but go ahead.
Currently I may have like roughly maybe just over 150 plus under my charge in terms of cows. Yeah, so that may be the lining. It could be, you know, somewhere close around 200, but average, give or take, roughly 150 within calves, cows, bulls.
And you do good business with the cow, with the cows, with the beef and so on.
Well, yeah, I'm transitioning. I'm a small business owner, so it's not huge on a wide scale, but I'm trying to make my way there, and, you know, be fruitful. If anybody want any diced beef, you know, sliced beef, as they would say, red meat, you know, you can come and get it at Humble's Green Pastures, or the number is 667-4024. I'm also in the transition of doing ground beef. So I'm trying to get some implements and also do some choice cuts, because some people may have a knack for choice cuts and want to sample the local choice cuts. So just trying to make way and pave the situation for that, and try to get maximum on the high end.
That was actually one of my questions I was going to ask you about.
Yes.
Doing the proper cuts and so on. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm going to take your number afterwards for sure.
No problem.
So, and it's interesting. I'm glad that you talked about the value added, aspect of your farming, which is actually creating your own ground beef, which is good.
Yes, we need that.
But why is beef so expensive though? Compared to,
Well, technically, everything expensive. I mean, not to really knock you down, but if you look at the world market right now, as war have persisted, diesel fuel, in any type of fuel have raised significantly. So we still have to calculate the time and effort. So you don't want to put in more than that. You're losing. Well, my current fee is $10 per pound, and that includes delivery, that includes fresh, because I cannot emphasize...
$10 a pound? That's
yes,
cheap?
$10 a pound.
And what's it normally sell for?
I normally sell for $10 a pound.
No, but I mean, what does it normally sell for? With,
well, that depends. If you come to the farmer, somebody like myself who is established in a business or running his own thing, you will get it for $10 a pound.
I will definitely
Maybe some other people may sell it a bit less, but when you go to the supermarkets where they have to buy and then sell again, they may rack it up, quite far, because I was in a Chinese recently and I looking at some dice, boneless beef, and I'm seeing like 19 and change. I like, wow. And prior to maybe just like sometime last year or four back before that, I always noticed that the price in the Chinese and Best Buy was always like $15.95, $16.95, whereas the average farmer would carry his cow or his bull to the abattoir and get $6.50 per pound, and then the consumers them would go and jack it up. So I guess if you really want a lower price on some fresh, nice, lovely beef, you may have to check the farmers or the the traders at the market. You would definitely get a better price. But if you go to the supermarket, the supermarket going to be packing, so you get it straight from the horse's mouth.
Well, I bought some subprime cuts I buy them from a supermarket there sometimes, because you can't really deal with the prime cut prices. So I think I buy strip line. Strip line. Comes out pretty good, but I mean, and it's still gotten more expensive in the last 4 or 5 months, but still a lot cheaper than like if you go buy a roast beef thing and for roasting and all that,
Give or take, most likely where you shop you get a better price.
Mm-hmm. So you're definitely going to be hearing from me. So tell me about the other animals, your other animal mix.
The other animal mix would be goats. I do some goats on the rough end, but sometimes if your hand is busy, you'll tend to lose goats because goats are ticklish. Number one, they cannot be overfed. Like for example, you cannot have them in a particular confined area. They will pick up worms because goats do not love to feed low. They browse, meaning that they like to walk and pick their food and pick above, whereas sheep would just graze to the ground and flat. Goats are very picky. So if you have your goats in a confined area, your lock-up area, and you have them in there too long, they will gather worms. They will gather intestinal worms.
So where would they get the worms from?
That's come from the feces, maybe some to some degree, some natural state, but most of it would come from the feces. Let's say they have worm and they will pass out stool.
Oh, and then
they could also pick it up from maybe cows them because bacteria and worm may be able to travel to some degree. So being in the same area. Just in general too, overall you have certain parasites that are always lurking. So once the animal feed to low, they normally pick up worm. I mean, there may be some areas that not prone to that, but most areas will be prone to that, especially in a livestock area.
So in terms of these parasites, it's not really that easy. What precautions should we take? Or for example, let's say, what precautions do you take? Well, you don't do any of the butchering, right?
No, I don't butcher personally. I carry it to the abattoir.
So what precautions would we take to make sure that we don't pick up these parasites, if that's even a thing?
Well, one of the most secure things to do is always have on shoes, especially when it's wet, because when it's wet, everything comes out on the ground. And if you're barefoot, then you tend to attract parasites or could, enter through the feet microscopically. You cannot see them, but then you might hear from the doctor that you have, being contaminated. And so when you're on a farm, it's best to always be secure, shoes-wise. If you have the chance to be barefoot in an open area, it's good for grounding. But when it comes to animals and parasites, you should really be, quite stacked out in the foot and make sure you're secure on the feet. Else you could pick up parasites.
So
you could also pick up parasites by interacting with the animals and not washing your hands properly. And then how the microscopic germs and infestation would go. I don't have to elaborate on that.
Okay. So how much land are we talking about in terms of the land you use for grazing for all these animals?
Well, I think in general, from a agriculture standpoint, scientific standpoint, I think is 1 acre per cow. But that's not going to be possible. So we'll probably have to have more cows and acre for the land and try to feed them. So you could do intensive feeding whereby you cut some food and give them. Some people give a little bit of brewery food. Some people just like, feed dissect them in pastures. So you would have them feeding in one pasture this week or these 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever the case may be. Depends on your flock and the amount you have, and you rotate them accordingly. So it's always best to have like 3 sectional pasture. So as you're rotating, the other 2 is growing up, and you rotate them every 2 weeks to 3 weeks.
So is there any co-grazing going on?
Co-grazing? Yes, goat could co-graze because the goats them could actually graze in the pasture where the cows them at, but then they could also exit the pasture and come back home.
Okay.
If a cow goes out, it would not necessarily come in, but it would still come in. Depends on the nature, the love between the farmer and the cow and what it gets. But if it's not being treated right, it might just tend to stray. and cows are generally like nosy, so they just walk up and down, and if they find water somewhere, they'll just tend to go and live and drink. But most of them would normally come back home. But the goats would go out, and as long as you have a dry environment for them, a dry home, they're coming back home in the evening. They always do.
So you have sheep as well?
Just a handful, not much. I don't really like sheep so much. It's good because they carry a lot of weight, but they tend to eat too flat. So if you don't give sheep a pasture, they will kill your farming or your grazing area because they eat low. When I say low, I mean low to the ground, like limboing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, what's the difference between sheep and goats? I mean, the one with the horns, those are...
Goats, well, there's some sheep that have horns as well.
I know, that's why I asked, but I realized that I always got the impression that the ones here don't have horns.
Well, some of them have because me personally, my father had some of them that have horns, and if you go around the country, you might tend to see some sheep with horns. Likewise, there's goats also that does not have horns. So yeah, we call them natty head. In the cow section or the bovine people call them buffalo or natty head as well, but they actually don't. So both sheep and goats could have horn, I could not have horn, give or take, and depends on the breed that you have. You have acquired. So
goat water, which meat? I mean, don't people use the meats interchangeably for goat water? That's the impression I always got.
Nah, it's kind of ticklish situation. If you really know goats, then you know goat water because goat have a distinct scent.
A more gamey.
Yeah. So you could mix it. You could take some mutton, which is sheep, and goat is actually chevron, but here in Sinkis we just say goat. Mutton.
We say mutton.
We just say mutton, everything is mutton. But in reality, goat chevron? Is actually chevron. Yeah. And sheep is mutton.
Oh, goat is chevron.
So let me highlight something.
Because I was thinking about cheval, but cheval is horse.
Oh, no.
Chevron. When you said chevron, I was thinking, then I said, no, cheval is horse. Yes, that's what the French call. Because the French eat horses, right?
Yeah.
And they call it cheval, which is horse in French.
It's kind of close, but I don't know what the French thinking about. The horse must be quite delicious, so perhaps you should give it a try.
I ate it before.
Oh, so what was it like?
But didn't you know about the, I was told a few years ago that Guadeloupe and Martinique used to buy all the surplus donkeys from Nevis.
I had no idea. You actually give them some.
Because they eat it. Yeah.
And I
ate horse before.
So it seems like I should start with donkey.
It's very tough, but I didn't know it was horse at the time. It was only afterwards I said, "Oh, that's why that was so tough."
Oh,
because they just gave it to us without telling us, and I was like, I said, "This is tough." It was only afterwards I found out it was horse.
Okay,
meat.
so apart from the texture being tough, what it actually tastes like?
Beef.
Tastes like beef.
Basically, yeah.
Interesting.
It just that was a little tougher.
So only one question to ask now. I wonder if the chef was not really that good in making it soft and nice, or they just tough in general.
But I remember reading that it tends to be tough, so I guess you would have to do things like maybe, the malleting thing that chefs do to make. So it seems as though it tends to be because the horse is a muscular animal and it's usually very active. So I would imagine that's why the meat would be tougher than. I mean, cows don't do any work. Come on,
Well, I'm assuming if you rain horses for consuming, they won't be doing any work as well. But you could never know.
True. But I guess just by their biological makeup, maybe the meat just tends to be tougher because they're more muscular.
Yeah, I think if there was more prone for eating, I think we'd have sat them on the market. So I guess the French just have a knack for it or whatever.
Yeah. The French will always be the French. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So, so you're saying with the sheep and the goat meat, when you take it to the abattoir, I mean, and it gets sold, what is it sold as? I mean, how is it labeled in the supermarket? Sheep and goat meat.
Most of the time, it just be labeled as mutton. Like I said, we have the
both.
Yeah, we have we have that criteria.
Not lamb. So isn't lamb? So lamb is actually the lambs, like the young.
Yeah, lamb is actually like a young lamb.
Okay.
Like you won't really find a lot of lamb chops here, which there's a good avenue for that.
Yeah.
But people don't really
They tend to import it.
go into that. So if you want lamb chops, go to a restaurant. Most likely,
It's gonna be imported.
It's gonna be imported. But there's a niche for it here. I don't know why some of the farmers them is not doing it who have so much big sheep. Instead of them roaming and taking so long, just sell some lamb chops.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
What about? Oh God, I was gonna ask you. You know, it just slipped up my mind. It was something related. It's gonna come back to me.
It'll come back.
So, okay. So, and how much do you sell in terms of goat and let's say chevron and mutton? How much does that sell for?
Well, the mutton basically sell for the same price, but in reality, the supermarkets them thereof do not dare to import goat meats because goat meat is quite stiff on the outside. The last time I checked, it was like 24 US a pound for goat meat, and that is why you find the supermarkets them do not import goat meats. So
when I see it, it's local.
Yeah, so the farmers them here have a niche also. You could really bail off of that, and that is why sometimes you may find the prices for goat meat up at $16 per pound. I would sell mine for 12. I stick at 12 because you could still see a profitable way within $12 per pound. But you know, it could go as far as up as $16 a pound.
Okay. Oh, I remember the question. So if we're talking about lamb, shouldn't there be a market for veal, which is, you know?
Yes, but I think I've been looking into that because most of the time we sell beef. I mean, there are some people who sell a big, a big bull that's been probably over like 4, 5, 6 years. And most of that would go to most likely ground beef.
Yeah.
Some of it may chopped up and sell in the market, but majority of the time we be selling veal meat because a veal is labeled at maybe like 3 years and under 3 years. And so that is veal beef right there, which you would pay a hefty price for that overseas. But here you get it for free, like just regular price.
Wow.
Yeah. And as for the veal, goat and mutton, it's kind of difficult to do that because then you'll be losing in poundage. However, you could do lamb chops, which you will pay for that at the supermarket because I guess in the restaurant, maybe $85 a dish for a small piece of lamb chops. So that's a business someone could actually go into if they had sheep and decides, okay, I want to link with a supermarket, I want to supply, whatever.
But suppose you wanted to supply veal to a hotel, you're saying that the hotel wouldn't give you the premium price because they've been, but I mean, usually they import their veal, I imagine, right?
Most likely give or take, but it's to interact with them and negotiate. But I think sometimes when the situation or the standard is set, like a company may come here, I want to pay in US, and the government might say no, and then all the company would adapt to that. There may be some different initiative that a worker or whoever it is may interact with an outside company, whether farming or construction, and certain things will be knocked down, so we left at a standard normal cost when it could go up.
Okay.
So give or take, it may take collaboration between the powers that be and the stakeholders to actually negotiate that.
Okay.
But as is, you kind of tend to just stay on a low field.
923, I've got Humble. He's a animal farmer, livestock farmer. So if you have any calls for Humble, now would be a good time to drop us a line. Let me ask you, what would be some of the things you would love to see the Department of Agriculture help empower you to do better? What would you like to see improve?
Well, that's a big and a vast question, even though it could be in a nutshell. But I would simply say that it's not really about me. It's about agriculture in general.
Okay.
Because when I would speak on behalf of all the farmers. Them, despite some people may label it as political prostitution to agriculture, but I am not a political person. So when I view and I look at the whole big picture. Now, if I'm looking at agriculture upgrade, I'm looking at we are a small island, and we should be able to feed ourselves, being that we are named Mount Liamega, fertile soil, and I think we still have a long way to go to capitalize on that in terms of planting, whether cultivating animals or cultivating crops, I think we have room for significant improvement. And so there might be some conflict in terms of things may not always go so good unless the government decide to step in and be a stakeholder, whereas legislation could be passed because you're actually implementing something in the farming sector. If you don't do that, you could just, well, it's just the farmers, and farmers need to do this and farmers need to do that. You could subsidize them, but it might go only to a certain way. But I think if government was actually on board as a stakeholder, I've said, and making legislation, I think it would go much more better by far.
But surely, I mean, there must be some, I don't even want to say critique, but there must be something that you could, in good faith, say, well, it would be nice if they improve this or improve that.
Oh, well.
As far as livestock farmers, and I'm gonna call your bluff. You said you're speaking for other farmers, so I want you to speak for yourself and the other livestock farmers. There must be something that is, it's just in good faith.
Yeah.
It's not something that anyone should label as being political. It's just, it's like if I'm a driver and I say, oh, there are a lot of potholes on this particular road. Me saying that isn't political.
No.
It's self-evident, right?
You could get criticized to some degree, but you're actually right, because there should be no potholes. If there is pothole now, that relates to the government and making sure that the taxpayers' money is very used well and go to where it goes to go. We don't need potholes to mash up our vehicles and pay more and damage our spinal cord. So
exactly. So tell me about the livestock farmer potholes, pothole equivalents.
Well, me personally, I would start out with the abattoir. I think the abattoir need a significant upgrade, because in my views and other farmers' views, the abattoir is somewhat dilapidated in terms of outdated. I think we really need that to be upgraded from outside, where we tie the animals under the shed, especially when there's holidays or Christmas time come up and there's a barrage or influx of people trying to get animals slaughtered to make that extra buck for Christmas. We barely have spaces to tie the animals, and outside is quite shaky, so you really need foaming up. And then as for the inside need to be upgraded on a significant level. There should not be, let's say, in other words, if the cutter who is cutting that particular animal, he's supposed to be just relaxed, calm and cool. He should not be in a heated area. So the whole facility need to be upgraded in terms of air condition. Because when you bring that meat from the freezer to cut up and you rest it on the table by the cutter, you should not be losing frost in terms of dripping blood or running down. And sometimes we may have to gotcha that at the abattoir. It's sad to say it. A minister may not want to hear that on the ear, but it is what it is. And these are the potholes right now affecting the farmers. It could have been probably better in terms of, how should I say, marketing. There's a marketing unit at the agriculture center, but it mostly market vegetables and stuff like that. I don't know how well that goes. Other farmers may have to speak on that, because I personally do not carry stuff there. I sell my stuff because I do a little extra farming on the side. Well, I plant myself. So if I have surplus and excess, then I would sell to various people or give family and friends.
Okay. So you see, that was pretty good. No, see, that wasn't hard, right?
No,
see,
well, yeah.
And actually, that was a very good answer. Because I know that place would have been opened in the 80s, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Late 80s under the PAM government, if I recall. So, no. Well, yeah, I think so.
So, by saying that, you could see the upgrade that is, overbearingly needed. And a lot of farmers get stressed from that. I think some of the workers them is currently being upgraded right now in terms of cutting choice cuts and doing different stuff, and that is needed as well.
That was the next question.
We need workers there that when you're carrying an animal and say, hey, I need some different choice cuts or whatever, they need to be able to transition and understand the lingo and know the cuts and give you something perfect. Not when you take the cuts and you sell them and the customers start complaining.
Yes.
So hoping that the trainees them there is taking it in and they will go well, and also hoping that the ministers or whoever behind the event would make sure that procedure carry on, even give them a refresh training so they could reach up to par. So if you carry an animal there, we could actually, hey, if this particular worker is not there, then the other two workers should be able to get those choice cuts done in a manner in which they are perfectly done, depending on one particular worker or no workers at all. Because I think some years back, that was actually the issue. Because I was scouting at the Frigate Bay, so I needed to upgrade and go to the end product in terms of choice cuts and ground beef. But the abattoir couldn't really facilitate that, especially with the choice cuts. Now, the ground beef might be a little ticklish, because if the abattoir itself or the government have to do all of that for the farmer, then they will be losing. So you still have to give or take, you know. I mean, a farmer could actually buy a ground and do his own ground beef. He just have a little overheads and get his implements sort out, and then he could do that. But when it comes to choice cuts now, if you don't have a proper sort, that's a bigger deal. So I think the abattoir could, facilitate for the choice cuts. And if you want to give that particular worker an extra buck because he's doing a little extra, you could interact and see how that goes.
So the choice cuts are done at the abattoir, or they're done at the market? Like if for people who are gonna sell this stuff at the market?
No, everything would have to be done at the abattoir because there's no cutting facility at the market. The market,
no, because I know when I was a kid, it used to have.
Yeah, but
I remember they used to have a big chat. I always remember this vividly, going to the market with my grandmother.
Yeah.
And seeing the big chart with the, identifying the different cuts and so. So clearly they used to know how to do that back then.
Yeah, but some of the old heads, they may have faded away, and then the youngsters, them coming in, probably never picked up, because if we don't bridge the gap, then we'd lose a certain information. It's just like today, if the internet goes down, all the information is on the internet, and we could just then get access. But picture that access being completely wiped out, then you'll be like next to Stone Age.
Yes.
So I think it's maybe a little somewhat like that during certain, situation in terms of farming or whether the abattoir cuts. And back then you might just take a hammer, a big machete, or axe, and just chop up the bone, chop, chop, chop. But now everything is regulated.
Have to do it properly, yes.
You have to make sure the sanitary officer is involved. It's a safe place. So, all of the cutting meat and the chopping meat and the butchering outside the abattoir was come to a halt. And everything have to come to the abattoir to make sure that we don't get infested or sick animals. The animals have to be tested by the vet. And then the sanitary officer, which is a good thing, So everything actually cuts at the abattoir.
I didn't know all of that happened. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, 9:31, 9:32. If you have any calls for Humble, you're getting some praise over here. Burl Jones says, great job, Humble, keep up the good work. And Francesca Harris says, proud of you, Humble, and they want to know how to reach you, so you can give your number again.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. The number is 667-4024. The name of the business is Humble's Green Pastures. It's an entrepreneur business, and
where are you based?
I'm based in Hertfordshire, Godwin Estate to be precise.
All right. So I'm gonna have to maybe take a drive down there one of these times when I come get some meat or something.
Yeah. So it's actually an enterprise, and we'll deliver. I could deliver if you want most of the time, and that is why it's up at $10 a pound. But still, compared to the supermarkets, it's still down. But however, if you do choice cuts, then it's an end product, so the price will have to go up. But for the regular slices or the regular slabs, it's just $10 a pound.
Okay.
So you could come and get your fresh. When I say fresh, I cannot emphasize fresh no more, because when a butcher, I like to send out all me information before pre-butcher, even I send it to the abattoir, because he goes to the abattoir on Sunday, go through the process, and by Thursday and Friday, we're willing to cut up and then distribute.
Okay.
So I'll send out, and then customers come and get it.
I didn't ask you about everyone's second favorite meat, pork. You have any pigs in your animal mix?
Well, to be quite frankly, I do not rear pigs.
You don't rear
however,
pigs, okay.
There's a lot of pigs on my farm, because here's how it goes. In the rainy season like now, first of all, we didn't actually have a summer from my viewing. We just had a rainy time, and it was phenomenal, but I miss my joy summer. But anyhow, in the wet season,
excuse me, so you guys actually complaining about rain now?
Well, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying.
I'm just teasing. But it's so ironic it is that last year, the year before, everybody was, we don't have any rain. And now, and try a couple times, you come in here,
farmers can't do without rain.
So much rain.
But when the rain come in excess now, it become like a little havoc, because you wash drains and wash roads and wash crops. So we can't take too much, but just enough is enough. So the summer was quite good. But anyhow, the point was that when September come, from about September till about maybe March, April, in certain areas, they'll have an influx of pigs. But these pigs now are eating natural. You have no chemical in them, and they just graze and eat. So it's like something local, something fresh, something in the wild. And you know, anything in the wild is much more better than pumping chemical to them. So, however, in majority of the farms, pigs will come from the mountain because in the hot time like summer and go up, they escape to the higher parts of the mountain. When the rainy season comes now, they come back down and they wreak havoc on the farm. They just.
So what do they eat when they go up there? I mean, because if there's no, say you go up beyond where there's crops, what do they eat?
Well, let's just put it like this. In nature, everything knows how to survive unless you have them in a pen. So they're not in a pen. Some of them will eat nut grass. They root up the dirt. They may eat stuff in the dirt that they find. They may eat certain roots and just certain berries that drop. Different stuff they eat because they have number of things in the dirt they will eat. They will bite off. If have like particular bushes that they eat. Like for example,
for medicinal purposes. Yeah.
After pig season, I may have various crops of different annoying bush just popping up out of nowhere.
As from the
feces, because of what
the
they
seeds,
eat, and then they come in all those seeds of different bush. So that is one of the problem them affecting the farmers. Them whereas wild pig would come and drop the feces, and then now you'll have a lot of different bush crops busting up in your grass pastures.
Yeah.
And monkey will also do that because monkey will eat various seeds. Like cockspur, a tree that run and it grows like a parasite, but it's actually a prickle tree. But what it does is that it grows slowly, but it's a parasite tree. So you look for other horses and he strangle them and you just create a kind of web, like a havoc, and you cannot go through that particular tree because it pinch up your skin and does all kind of stuff to you. So that is a real havoc, and that will actually take over a whole paddock and make your paddock become like docile, feedless. So
man, you're getting a lot of props here, man. Another friend of mine just says you're very impressive and well spoken. And trust me, if you saw what she looks like, you'd be blushing. She is extremely pretty.
Wow.
And I'll make her blush now.
Okay, well, I really appreciate the feedback because we're here to distribute information. If anybody
Good morning, my friend. Yeah.
If anybody personally want to ask something or learn something, they could always contact me. You know, if they want local beef, if they want advice on any farming areas, they could, contact and relate. They could call now, give or take.
Okay. But I'm going to take your number. And I'm going to put it in the chat as well for the people who want. Humble's Green Pastures, right?
Yes.
Okay, Humble's Green Pastures.
So, again, we deliver. We give you fresh. You could get your beef. Right now, I used to sell my beef mostly wholesale. But as of lately, I start to put it more into the business and try to get it out there. So I would do wholesale still. I would also sell, a cow to someone or a heifer if they need that. If you need a young calf, you could also contact me. Come and get your young calf because the farm is quite big. There's a lot of animals under my charge and you cannot overgraze. So if no one is buying at some point in time, then I have to cull some of the cows them that may be different in terms of the rest. Like you may have a cow and it may not be producing as much as fast as another cow, and then you have to cull it because you still need a certain amount of animals in that said area in terms of acres.
Okay. Two quick questions. One, do you guys have the I remember there was this what was that thing called? That problem with the cows.
Dermatophilosis problem?
With those big
ticks.
Yes. That's all but wiped out, I guess?
No, it's still there. Wow. It's really called the amblyoma tick, and the disease when it bite the cows them, you normally give them a disease called dermatophilosis, short for derma, and it wreak havoc on the cows them.
So you guys use the dip still?
Well, the dip was kind of back in the old times. They don't really have dip anymore because I think they found that some of the chemicals them that was being used were maybe not really the best. And then at the same time, you may have problem for the cows them actually going in the dip, give or take how it builds. So we resort to more modernized technique like getting the vertical pour on and just run it on the streak of the back because some of them you could actually
topical application
topical and just put it on the back, or you could trade in a spray bottle and just spray it up. Yeah, so give or take is up to you which procedure you want to take. But for that to happen, you probably have to have like a animal chute, whereas you could put them in a chute and more make them confined so they don't move, and then you just spread them up, tag them, take your information, whatever you need to do.
Okay. My final question. Milk. Any scope for milk production? I mean, I know it would be limited and so on, but is there any market for domestic milk?
Well, that's something to be looking for, but at the same time, if you have a milk market, you personally would have to have milking cows, like Jersey cows. Some of the cows them here, most of them would be zebra, some of them would be red pole. Some of them is not really the best for milking.
They're more for meat.
Yeah, more for meat. So one or two people may call and say they need milk, but then to go and put a cow in the chute and actually milk it just for a little buck, it may not be beneficial to the farmer. But if you maybe say have like 5 Jersey cows or 5 or 10 milking cow and you put out the advertise, then people who need milk may find you, and then the percentage may increase and you may have a small business just out of that. But most of the farmers do not really go down that road because
they deal with the meat.
Yeah.
Well, they figure. Which one would you say is a quicker return?
Like both of them could be, because if you have milk and you have 10 of them and they're in rotation, and I guess there's more than 20% of people who may need that fresh milk and may not necessarily need it from a can where it's preserved, where is they may just stuff in it to preserve it and keep it extra white, remove the pus. You may have knowledge of that, and you may just need something more natural and fresh. So I guess
pus, where's the pus coming from? Talking about the local cows?
No, I'm talking about the overseas can milk in the cow.
The pus?
Because let's face it, it's business. And when you're doing business on a monoculture scale like vast, you're not necessarily studying the health benefits of everyone out there. You're looking at your profits and how quick and keeping the flow going. So if the cow nipple is sick and there's pus coming, you're not necessarily going to look at that, because you already have your backup chemical whereas you're trying a certain amount of ml or a little drop and it just clears everything up and make it look crystal white. But in reality, it does not necessarily mean it's the best for you.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done a lot of research on that and look at different stuff. So, I'm kind of into my health as well. So I love the health aspect.
Okay. Yeah. So you're saying there is a market if someone decided to buy, let's say, let me buy 10 milk cows, and there's probably a market for that, right?
You'll get a market, because I know people is there and people need that. It's just that you don't see them often. And when they do pop up and ask, you can't facilitate them, because it may be not the best to just go through all the trouble just to give one particular person some milk. But there could be a market for it. There's always a market for anything.
So do you believe in build it and they'll come?
Yeah, definitely.
So if someone took a chance on that, because I guess you could always fall back on meat if that doesn't work out, which is probably unlikely, I feel.
Yeah.
But you agree that if someone decided, okay, let me get 5 or 6 and maybe hedge my bets and get some meat cows, and if that doesn't work out,
you could have both, because
the way as long as you market it properly.
Yeah, the way how I see it and understand it, you look at the people and you see where the pain is, you see where the cry is, and then you make a business out of that. So if the people them have a niche or a cry for some local milk, then you definitely get it, because
you finally have a call. 2 calls, wow, excuse me. Okay, let's go. Farm report for Humble, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Humble.
Yes, a pleasant good morning.
What do you do with the skin?
The skin,
to make leather?
most of the time, presently, I don't know about the leather. I think that would take some upgrade and a facility and certain machines and stuff like that. So that's a different upgrade. But currently, some of the boat fishermen them would use this skin to attract fishes. There's some particular persons, whether Jamaican or local or St. Vincent, whatever, because we kind of diverse at the moment. They will ask for the skin, because like in Jamaica, it's a delicacy, and they find like collagen in the skin for the knees and different stuff like that. So some of the people then would call and want it.
Do you provide bullfoot?
Yeah, I provide bullfoot, but I sell all my parts them from the animals. So I would sell everything. So I have my customers them. Once I put in the order and let them know a cow is in the abattoir, they send in the request and everything is mostly gone.
I like bullfoot soup,
I like bullfoot soup.
Yeah, man,
so let me ask you a question. Would you buy your bullfoot soup, or you prefer to cook it yourself? I'll give her a take.
Right now I'm blind, so I buy it.
Okay, well, there's this lady in the gut who I sell to Anne. In College Street gut. She does bullfoot quite often, so I don't know if you could give her a buzz or get in touch with her. But I sell her.
Bracha does it. And the lady over on Sandon Road, I think she's a Guyanese.
Yeah, Bracha does it as well. Does it definitely.
I love bullfoot too. What about head skin? Like when you were growing up, people used to cook head skin.
People still do cook it. It's just that some of the old school them may drop out, so it might be a bit limited right now. But the cow head goes. Everybody want the cow head for cow head soup and different stuff. So basically, all the parts them normally goes.
They don't skin it no more.
Some of the workers them would find it a bit hard to work on the skin itself. So if you, as the particular individual who want that skin, you may have to pay to get that skin cut, because the workers, they may not see it feasible for their pocket to go through all that scraping and cutting. So if I have to scrape it to you, I might charge you an additional fee. But if you want to take it as is, and then I just charge you $5 a pound or whatever, and then you go and do your own scraping, that's how it goes sometimes.
I was wondering, well, what about crop house? You all ever consider? Because I remember a long time they used to make leather goods.
Well, I think that would need some assistance, or if you have the financial and you see the niche and you could actually get the information whereas you need and then get the machinery needed, you could probably go into that. But then you'll actually have to know that, hey, this is going to sell. We have a cry for that, because you don't want to go into business, a market, and there's no pain, because if there's no pain, then there's no need for it. But if there's a pain and a cry, then obviously people need that.
Now, you were talking about some equipment. Dr. Sebastian used to produce minced beef.
He still does. He still does.
Oh, he still does?
Yes, Franklin's and Montreal.
Machinery from them.
No, I think the current minister still does that as an extension. So I think they're active, still active.
I was just saying maybe you could have acquired the stuff. Anyway, God bless you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Mr. Politics, Mr. Politics is another big farmer.
Mm-hmm.
So what, in terms of your pasture, you said you have 3 lots?
Yeah, I try to separate them in 3 lots, so you could always have rotation. You need rotation.
What happened to all the cows that were brought from Peninsula into Africa? Where are they?
It was kind of a loss, really, because it wasn't really a good transition. Most people don't like to hear it, but it's not always a good transition when money is involved. And to me, as a young kid looking at my father and seeing the transition, it wasn't really necessarily done at the best interest for the farmer and the country. It was more done in terms of giving Christophe Harbour access to the land. And once the farmer is off, that was it. So most of the animals then was crammed into a certain amount of area just behind the boatyard. And then, some old man used to come on a tractor and cut some grass, where that was not lucrative for hundreds of cows. So my father got real irritated and maybe not so diplomatic.
Your father used to own them?
Yeah, so he just opened the gate and allowed all of them, and that is how a lot of animals was on the road in Sandy Point, Halfway Tree, different yada yada. And that really stems from...
Did they drink? I see them down the bay in the peninsula. They used to drink this water?
They would just take a little sip, but mostly any animal will love the seawater because salt is a natural healer, and they would just go, they would pick, they would graze, they would take a little sip, but just like anybody, they like to be by the seawater because the seawater is healing. Remember, the seawater takes away negative from you, so if you take a dip in the seawater, you'll come out, relief of negativity and stress to some degree.
All right. All right then.
Yeah. Okay, Sylvine, appreciate the call, thank you.
Before I go, do your animal eat dry grass?
Yes, animals will eat dry grass because a lot of time I'll have grass there for making mulch or making I can't even find the word right now, but they'll come and
compost.
Compost. Thank you. Yeah, so they'll come and they'll rip the bags out and they'll eat it. But being that we don't have winter, we don't really have to have hay, but they will eat the dry grass.
I always wondered that. I recall one time going to Antigua and see these things on a pasture. To me, they were eating stone.
Hey, even worse, if you take the dry grass and you make silage, like put molasses on it and different bush and put it in a drum, make a silage, they'll eat it. They will even eat it more because they give them a lot of protein now, and it's good for the growth or the marketing. So we could still go into silage and use that.
All the best in your production.
Okay, Sylvine, appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, God bless you.
Respect.
Okay. So I give you the last word. Before you go, let me put your number here in the chat so that some people are asking for your number. What's the number again?
667-4024.
Okay, 667-4024. Okay, give you the last word.
Give me the last word?
No, sir, I'm giving you the last word.
Well, I appreciate everybody out there who tuning in and, listen. And as for the farmers, I think the farmers should always try to push themselves and not depend on the government too much because we have to push ourselves. However, the government is reliable to help the farmers to some degree because it's agriculture. And if we don't come together and hold one head, then we will be always importing food. And, imported food consists of chemicals, preservatives and different stuff that is not too good for the human body because most of it is man-made. So
did I say that the last word includes this last call? Go ahead. Caller, go ahead.
No problem.
I gotta let the callers in. Go ahead, caller.
Okay.
Greetings.
Greetings.
We now listen to the radio. What's the topic? What's the reason about?
We were just talking about cows and animals and different perspective in terms of anyone who wanted certain information.
He's a livestock farmer.
Oh, the livestock business. Okay. All right. But, you know, it's funny that this is called livestock and the thing them up for dead.
Yes.
So we observe the three things.
Yeah, some people have priorities. Some
Pardon?
people have priorities and niche for different stuff.
He really wants to tell you fire upon. He really wants to tell you. He really wants to tell you fire upon the deaders. That's really what he wants.
No.
I'm just teasing you.
Everybody to their own other, you know. Yeah, so that's what we do. But we want to say all the best to the farmers, you know. Farmers in your category and the ground provision for all the farmers, you know, all the best. You know, so we in the fall and just good to us. So we just, you know, the earth.
Yeah, man, respect to that.
Here for us to, you know, do what we have to do and differently the animals, all the things them with life, you know, including what they are into, where if we just be part of, you know, what is going on.
Yeah, man, we give thanks for the positive
talking about farming, we want to thank the Ministry of Agriculture for reaching out and rallying around farmers in Nevis.
Yeah.
Ministry of Agriculture here in St. Kitts, you know.
Okay.
They appreciate love that, you know. There was a program talking about agriculture. There was a program on radio in Nevis. I think it was called Everything Agriculture. It is no more, and that is very sad. Very, very sad to see a program like that have to be no more on radio instead of opening up more and more.
Not to cut you off, but perhaps you could find the creators of it and have a dialogue with them and see as to why he came down or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, we intend to do that. We intend to go over Nevis and do that. We just see it as a sad thing to happen. You know, the importance of agriculture in our midst, you know. Yeah, we just see it as a sad thing. All right, give thanks to the time, and once again, best wishes here.
Yeah, man, respect. I appreciate the call.
Great.
Bless us, though.
Okay, humble, and this was a great presentation. And I have to have Troy send you back from time to time because this was you realize the calls started coming late, I guess.
Yeah, no problem.
They were probably so, and
whenever you wish for a dialogue,
for sure. I have your number now.
Dialogue, you could always.
You're probably gonna hear from me this weekend, So
okay,
because I need to get some beef.
For the general public out there, since I'm on the air, most of the beef that I butchered the last 2 weeks is almost finished. So I'm about to send in a fresh animal, and then you could put in your orders how you want it because I don't want to do diced beef and then a customer come and tell me he need 50 pound a slab. So that is why I like to put out my request, put out my agenda, and then you put in your request. So when I'm cutting up now, I know exactly, okay, I need 50 of this for Tom and, 60 of this for Evans and, so.
And you have the other animals too, right? The goat and the sheep meat as well.
Yeah. Well, goat and sheep is like limited. So you may have it this week, you may not have it next week, but the cow would always be there because the cow is most in abundance.
Okay.
But goat meat is very ticklish. Some people may save up the last goat meat, or majority for Christmas to get that extra buck, where some people may just butcher in between. I butcher in between consistently because that's just what I do, But at the same time, as we were speaking earlier, the goat meat is very ticklish. So if you're not deworming them consistently, then you would have issues. Your whole flap could succumb to worms. And if you decide to deworm...
But that doesn't affect the meat though, right?
No, it affects the meat to some degree because if the animal is sick, it's not a good idea to send it to the abattoir.
Okay.
And then you would lose production because it would sink, your body would lose weight and you'll be in a more deadified farm, and you don't need that. You need a healthy, live animal running up and down.
Oh, so that's why sometimes I see some of them and they look skinny and...
they have worm and they need the warming.
Okay.
Now, for the general public, let me just say this quick. If you're going to deworm a goat, it's not a one and done. When you come to goats, you have to deworm them maybe like 3 or 4 times back to back. And then after that, you may need to deworm them once a week, and then maybe once every 2 weeks. And then once they're really good, you can actually deworm them once a month. And that would give you a better production, going forward.
Okay. Humble's Green Pastures. I put your number here in the chat. So some people were asking, and it was good.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have you come back.
Respect, no problem.
All right,
anytime.
All right, great. And you're gonna be hearing from me soon.
Okay, no problem.
All right, folks. That's gonna do it for Farm Report. Humble's Green Pasture 6674024. Let's go to the break. We have about 5 minutes left on the show.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9 Win FM.
Buster, roll it up, meet the thirst quencher in my cup. If you have one, hold it up and say, Buster put the colors in my life. Refreshing and nice, and I drink that what we like. Buster, you're full of vibes, living full color. And I'm black and white, we do what we like. We live to enjoy life. Buster, pour it up, different flavor. Load it up, If you have one, hold it up and say, Buster put the colors in my life.
Four minutes on till 10 o'clock. Caller, go right ahead. Have a call here. Caller, go right ahead. Hello, caller.
Hello?
Hey.
Is it possible to get on air?
You're on the air.
Okay. Hi. Good morning.
Hey.
I really enjoyed this interview with Humble. And I'd really like to ask him a question. Is that possible?
He's still here as it happens. Okay, I'll let him go back around and you can ask him the question.
Yes, just a few seconds.
You're a one lucky guy.
Oh, wow, thank you.
You are very lucky. Okay, so go ahead. Shoot your question.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, good morning. Quick question. Do you have a website where we can find out more information, or even a Facebook page where people can find out information about you and your farm?
Well,
the second question.
Yeah.
The second question is, very quickly, do you have persons working with you, young persons working with you? And I really like to thank you for taking my call. Thank you.
Okay, let me just adjust those two questions. That's a good question because a colleague of mine was nagging me and saying I need to set up my Facebook page, which I have a Facebook page labeled Beef and Mutton, but due to the nature of the situation, I didn't really follow up on it, and then certain things was happening respectively along the way, so I wasn't really following up. But right now I'm in the process of setting up that website and getting everything organized as a small business. So currently I'm just in the next few weeks I should get that organized properly, and that is a fine question because I've been nagged about it and say I should have already did that. So that is a very good question. As for the youngsters, I'm currently trying to get into the PEP, but the PEP is kind of ticklish because sometimes you would have certain workers come on your farm, what they select for you, and that does not necessarily goes well most of the time. So I'm hoping that they could work with me and have a few selected personnel who I personally would love to work on my farm because it's quite hectic and, you know, I really, really need the help. So I'm currently working on that as well. I don't know if I missed out anything out of the first question. But I think that's me.
That's a perfect answer. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate the call, man. But those are some nice, legit questions, and I really feel behind because I need to get that done. I know one of me.
And keep up the good work, man. Don't give up. Keep up.
No problem. No, there's no giving up. The worst thing an individual could do in life, in general, all over, is to give up. Never quit, never give up. You will have some hard times. You will go down. You will hit rock bottom, but don't give up.
Yeah.
Don't give up. So I appreciate your call 100%.
Okay. Well,
thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, caller. Man, you're really resonating with the callers today, the listeners today. Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe they need to eat some more beef for real. You're probably gonna cause a spike in beef consumption.
No, that's good. That's good for the country. Yeah, we need that.
Okay. All right, Hubble. It's 10 o'clock. That's gonna do it for today's Island Tea. So, folks, come and join us tomorrow. Don't forget, you can join me this afternoon at 1:30, right after Voices. Socrates is going to be coming in for Voices. You can join me at 1:30 for Spin Cycle, sponsored by CPL 2024. And just letting you know that a CPL representative is going to be joining me this afternoon for 2:30. So you know what that means. That might mean free tickets and other stuff. Maybe not necessarily today, but hey, I got to hang a carrot so that you guys can listen. So come back at 11 o'clock for Voices. Following Voices, the CPL sponsored Spin Cycle, the nation's best mix of music, right up until 6 o'clock. That's going to do it for us until 11. Come back for Voices.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. Win FM.